Beneath the shadowed foot of Doi Phi Pa, where the last whispers of human courage dissolved into the dense and lifeless jungle, the world felt unnaturally still. Midnight cloaked the mountain, the moon's silver light struggling to penetrate the thick, blood-red mist that slithered between the blackened trees, curling hungrily around the damp jungle floor. Only faint whispers remained. From the restless wind or something else, their eerie, fragmented tones slicing the oppressively silent night. The hiss of fire. From the heart of the shadowy expanse, a faint orange glow cut through the gloom, flickering in uneven rhythms, growing brighter with each heartbeat. The ground trembled faintly, as if the mountain itself stirred in fear. And then he emerged, Chow Luang Fakam. The ruler of death betrayed in life returned to haunt the land he once commanded with fire and cruelty. His silhouette appeared first, like a phantom entity rising from the depths of despair. The blood-dripping torch he held cast jagged shadows across his rotted form. His torn ceremonial armor gleamed dimly under the flickering light, blackened metal encrusted with rust, streaked as if by lashes of fire. His face, half obscured by the swirling crimson mist, told a torment that twisted the stomach. Decayed flesh clung stubbornly to his skull, his jaw tight despite a yawning gash that exposed cracked teeth and sinew hardened into a sickly black. A single rotted socket burned with an unholy red glow, locked forward with predatory intent. His other eye, if it could be called that, was gone, its hollow crater oozing something vile that hissed when it hit the ground. Blood, not adrift in chaos but purposeful, deliberate, dripped steadily from the torch in his hand, each drop resonating like a grotesque drumbeat against the jungle floor. Behind him, more shapes emerged from the cursed fog. His army. A hulking figure dragged itself forward first, its mangled form heavy, groaning under the weight of its own curse. Its hands were claws, talons cracked and jagged, dragging across the earth and leaving scarred trails in the dirt. Black fog seeped from fractures in its flesh, forming ghostly tendrils that reached hungrily in all directions. Its disfigured torso twisted unnaturally with each motion, a mockery of human form. Next came others, serpentine monstrosities, their faces grotesquely shredded and jaws split wide, revealing rows of fangs glistening with dark wet slickness. Their bodies slithered but stuttered, recoiling and snapping violently at unseen forces. Jagged tails tore against the jungle's roots, pooling blood wherever they twisted. Crimson shadows stretched long as these horrors stepped forward, their numbers endless, their forms deviant. The ground beneath them shimmered, wet and thick with blood that glimmered under the faint torchlight. A wet squelch punctuated every step, the sound mingling with the faint echoes of tortured screams. They did not emanate from the figures, but from somewhere deep in the jungle, faint and maddening. Screams of despair looping endlessly, like the restless energy of victims bound forever to these woods. Fakam's army surrounded him now, flanking him in silent worship as he came to a halt upon a ridge overlooking the world that had forgotten him. His presence was oppressive, the air tightening, squeezing breath from the lungs of all who witnessed his form. Jungle life fell further into absolute silence. The air itself seemed to congeal, thick and metallic. Then his gaze shifted. His single glowing eye caught distant movement, a watcher hiding just beyond the trees. He did not speak, but the crush of his will was heavier than words. The figures behind him moved as one, their hollow mouths opening to release a collective, deafening screech that ripped through the forest like the cry of 1,000 doomed souls. They surged forward, leaving claw marks, blood, and destruction in their wake. And behind it all, Chow Luang Fakam stood silently, raising his bloodied torch higher, its flame roaring unnaturally in defiance of death itself. The last thing visible in the thick fog was his single, burning eye, unblinking, impossibly bright, and staring forward directly into your soul.